right. Well, we are in the second to last sermon in our series on Jesus's navigation through what people think are binary choices, how he rejects this either-or situation time and time again. And today, as Jonathan read for us, we're looking at the situation where Jesus is confronted by his disciples with the choice. They're really sure that either the ministry has to stop or the people are going to starve. And the reason that they think the ministry has to stop is because they don't have enough resources. They don't have enough. They don't have enough to do what they need to do, what they want to do, what they feel called to do. Anybody here ever feel like you don't have enough? I don't have enough to do. Well, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough reason. I don't have enough to get done what I need to get done. Anybody? Anybody? Few people? Yeah. And when you're in those situations, are you more tempted to be thankful or to grumble? Grumble, yeah. Well, hopefully tonight we're going to learn a lesson that'll help us be thankful, even when we feel like we don't have enough. And I don't want to get your hopes too high, but there are several people from Northwoods Gap that are here with us this evening, and a couple of them already heard the sermon this morning, and they're back for more. So, buckle up. So Matthew 14 is what Jonathan read for us. Matthew 14, verses 13 through 21. And the situation is this. Jesus has just learned that his cousin, his friend, the one who baptized him, the one he grew up with, and the one who had paved the way for his ministry to begin, John the Baptist, has just been beheaded by the whim of a capricious king and his mistress, his wife. And so John the Baptist, this great prophet of God, has been killed and taken off the board by an act of caprice and pettiness. And Jesus is sad, and he's looking to go to a solitary place. He's sad. He just wants to get away. He's been busy. He just got this bad news, and he wants to go to a solitary place, it says. So he gets in the boat with his disciples. He just wants to be with those closest to him as he goes through this grieving process. But as word spreads that Jesus is heading to the solitary place, people from all around the village, they go to where it is Jesus is going. When he gets there, the crowd is already there. And we find out at the end that there's thousands and thousands of people, 5,000 men plus women and children, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000, maybe 15,000. We don't know. And when Jesus gets there, even though he's tired, even though he is grieving, even though he's human, he's God, and he's human. And he gets tired just like you get tired. He gets sad just like you get sad. And he's had a long day. He's got this bad news, but he's moved with compassion when he sees the people. And it says in the text that he healed their sick. And there are multiple thousands of people. And can you imagine how long that was going to take? He healed their people. Thousands of people coming up to Jesus one at a time. What's wrong with you? Oh, there's okay. Be healed. What's wrong with you? Okay, be healed. Even if that's all it was, a few seconds apiece. This is a long time to get through thousands of people who all want a piece of Jesus. And he gives it to them. And finally, his disciples, they are tired themselves. Been along. This isn't what they were expecting. They thought they were just going to have a little private time with Jesus. These massive people have crowded them out, and they're looking at their watches. They're looking at the time. They're in this remote place. They say, Jesus, we got to stop this. You got to cut this off. You got to send these people away. It's getting late. We didn't come prepared for this. They're going to starve. We got to shut this ministry down because we don't have enough resources to keep it going. And Jesus says, and that's the either or. That's the either or thinking that the disciples are in. Either we shut it down or people starve. We can't do it. And Jesus says, they don't need to go anywhere. You give them something to eat. And the disciples do probably what most of us would do. They look at what they've got. All we've got, 5 breadsticks and 2 sardines. That's it. All right. We can only make so many fish sandwiches, and there's thousands of people. What? This is nothing. We don't have enough, Jesus. We can't do it. And Jesus does what he does. You guys are thinking too small. Bring me the little puny bit you've got. Bring it to me. And Jesus takes what's not enough, and instead of grumbling Instead of complaining, instead of saying, I can't do this. I don't have enough. All these people I already been given and given and given. I'm tired. I'm sad. And I'm already praying for these people. I'm tapped out. I don't have enough. I can't make this. He doesn't do any of that. What Jesus does is he takes this little bit that's not enough. He looks up to God and he says, thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for what you've given me. And then he shares it. He breaks it. And he passes it to the disciples, who in turn pass it to the people. And everybody eats and is satisfied. Everybody is full. That means that all these thousands and thousands of people, they had seconds if they wanted. They had thirds if they wanted. They were satisfied. They felt good. They were full. And then there were leftovers. Each disciple got a basket full. 12 of them. Not enough became more than enough with thanksgiving. When Jesus gave thanks for the little bit he had, God made it supply abundantly. Everybody had enough. This church has seen that principle in practice. One of the most formative and transformative experiences I've had in my life happened in the late 90s. I went through a Bible study called Experiencing God. I highly recommend it to anybody. Experiencing God was one of the things that Henry Blackaby, the author of that study, said is that when he was the pastor of this little church up in Canada, I think it was, they realized that the way most churches and most nonprofits and most organizations set their budget for the year is they look at how much did we bring in last year, and well, we could probably expect right about that next year, and then they just kind of tweak it, and that's their budget. But what they decided to do was get real serious in prayer and ask God, what is it you're calling us to do in this next year? And when they found out what they felt God was calling them to do, they said, well, how much is that going to cost? And then that was their budget. And they just believed that God was going to bring in what they needed, faith budget. We've done that several times at the Church and Drive. There have been times, man, we've been tight. We didn't know how things were going to be. One time in particular, I remember we were desperate. Like, this was several years ago, and I didn't know what was going to happen. Went to the mailbox, opened up a check for $10,000 that somebody had written to the church out of the blue. And I've lost count of how many times that has happened for the Church and Drive when we've stepped out in faith. Not enough becomes more than enough with thanksgiving. So we got to be a thankful people. Amen. We got to be a thankful people. Here's my challenge to you. What is God calling you to do that seems like it'd be a stretch? It seems like you don't have enough. You don't have the training. You don't have the wisdom. You don't have the money. You don't have the whatever. You got this tug on your heart. You got this thing that God is, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what I've got for you. And you've got all these excuses, maybe. You've got all these reasons why. Well, what would happen if, when you feel like you don't have enough, flip it around. Be thankful for what you do have. Be thankful for what it is that you have been given. And what can God do through you with that attitude? That's my challenge to you, something to think about, and maybe talk about it around the Super Bowl party. You can tell somebody around you what it is that God has put on your heart.